What's up, interwebs? I'm Tim Green. I work in the pen name Tim RG, and this is my channel. And you are listening to the Skyler Grant Podcast, where we are going through the only novel I've ever passed and finished, Skyler Grant, and we're going over it. My buddy Adam Daley of the ZOP Gaming channel is reading a chapter each episode.
Hello, yes I am.
Hello, yes I am is your name?
I am.
I am, okay. Wow. Anyway, he will read a chapter in a few minutes. We are on chapter, what chapter, Adam?
29.
29 of 46. We're more than halfway through now.
Exactly. We're good.
Finally.
We're on we're finally going uphill. Or is it downhill?
No, we're still going uphill.
Okay.
At the same time, downhill. Anyway, after Adam reads the chapter, we will discuss it. He'll bring up anything he wants to point out about the chapter, and I'll bring up anything I can remember about when I wrote it and what I was thinking, and why I did things, if I can remember. We'll see. But before we get there, let's see. We got some stuff we gotta get through first. If you go on to enjoy this episode of the podcast, we would love it if you go and hit that like button. Do it as a prayer to the holy algorithm.
Holy algorithm.
And subscribe because I got some writing content on this channel. With that said, Adam, when you're ready.
Oh, just give me a moment, man. Sometimes I need to get in the mood. Now I'm in the mood. Skyler Grant, written by Tim R.G., narrated by Adam Daley. Chapter 29, April 25th, 4:06 p.m. Hillary sat in the back seat of the black vehicle, still in tears over Jared's death. She could not understand why he was there and Skyler was not. How could Skyler send his best friend into a situation like this? But that was not the only thing bugging her. What was he trying to say before he died? Something about on the way back? Was he trying to tell her where Skyler was or the way out of the area? She would never know because he was gone. She just sat there as two soldiers up front chatted as they drove down the road back towards Angel's Groves and their base. Suddenly, she heard screeching of brakes. She lifted her head just to see the vehicle in front of them fly off the side of the road, rolling and smack into a tree. It exploded. The screeching was the driver of slamming the brakes out of a reaction. Before the vehicle hit the tree, the soldier driving sped up. A moment later, a loud bang echoed through the valley as the vehicle hit the tree, followed by a boom as it exploded into flames. Hillary wondered what was going on. What could have caused the vehicle of that size forced off the road? There were no other cars or trucks around. She got her answer as far into the distance she saw a black dot in the road. As they approached, she could see it was a person. "Who the hell is that?" asked the driver, seeing the person far up ahead. "Are they nuts?" "Just go around the person," said the soldier in the passenger seat. A minute later, they were almost on top of the person when the driver pulled into the opposite lane to go around this guy. Before he got fully into the other lane, this person walked over and stood in their way. Hillary could see this did not make either of the two soldiers happy. "This guy wants to die or what?" "Run him over." "I'm gonna have to." Skyler walked into the road, glancing down, knowing any moment the vehicle holding Hillary would come into view. It was only a 6/10 of a mile before the bridge, and thought it would be great to do it there, but he decided against it. Then he saw it. Two black vans came into the distance. He knew the drivers wouldn't see him yet, but he could see them barely. He quickly pulled out a small hand device and glanced at it. Two dots appeared on a map, both right next to each other. Skyler knew Hillary and Jared were together, but what car they were in. He looked up. Everyone who rides a bus to school lets them know how close they are. He looked up, and when he looked closely, the car in front had some distance, and just past a landmarker that everyone who rides a bus to school lets them know how close they are. The two dots passed area on his map a few seconds later. He knew they were in the second car. Skyler put the tracker back in his pocket. lifted his attention to the oncoming vehicles. He slowly raised both hands to chest level. Once there, his hands went from relaxed to tense, as if he was grabbing a hold of something that was not there. He squinted his eyes to better focus on the first car. His nostrils flared and his jaw clenched. All of Skyler's veins and muscles began to bulge. He began to breathe heavily when spun his hands to the right. The moment he did this, the first vehicle flipped and rolled through the second lane off the side, continuing to roll before smashing into a tree. As it hit, he could hear a faint bang, and a moment later, boom, as it burst into flames. He relaxed and took 3 deep breaths. First vehicle down, which was the hard part. Now he needed to stop the second without anyone getting hurt. Skyler stood there as the second car began to pick up speed after it slowed down. He knew they were begin to see him. So he stood up, straight hands at his side as the wind blew through his hair. The car continued to at high speed and knew that they got up top of him, the driver would head into the oncoming lane. A minute passed, and he saw the car begin to move into the other lane. He turned to his right and walked over into that lane. The car stopped moving into the lane, and Skyler knew that those soldiers realized he was there to block them. Skyler stood in the middle of the road as the car barreled down on him. He could hear the engine as it began to speed up. The driver had decided to take him out, not because he knew who he was, but after what just happened to the vehicle in front of them. The car was seconds away. The car was seconds away from smashing into him as Skyler acted. His hands shot up to his chest with his palms facing the oncoming vehicle. As he did this, he placed his right foot back behind him, knees bent as he was about to push something. Once his foot was in place, every muscle contracted. His face returned to the way he was when he was focused on the first car. The second did this, the car lifted up on the front wheels at a diagonal. It kept coming, but it quickly lost speed. Second, the car stopped feet from him. Skyler did not flinch. The 2 soldiers had their faces planted up against the windshield. Only thing that saved them from going through was their seatbelts. Skyler was surprised they had them on, but was happy they did. Last thing he wanted was more people dead. With the car stopped, he relaxed and the back of the vehicle dropped to the road with a bang. The shocks caused the whole car to shake. Skyler walked the left of the car down to the back door. His face, it raised his right hand with his index, the middle fingers pointed out, and with a quick flick of his wrist, he turned it so his palm was facing up. He heard a click as the door became unlocked. He grabbed the handle and yanked it open. He heard a click as the door became unlocked. There in the seat with leaning forward in her chair with the seatbelt keeping her from falling out of the chair was Hillary. Skyler thought she was out. He went to touch her when she moved. She slowly leaned back into the seat as she took a deep breath of air. The sudden stop had clearly knocked the wind out of her. Skyler could not believe the girl he cared about was sitting right there, and far too long had it been since he had seen her. Hillary did not realize he was there. She was too busy breathing. When turned and looked at him, her eyes widened out of surprise. Skyler lifted his left hand and brushed the hair from her face to the side. The two just stared into each other's eyes. Skyler could see she felt exactly like him. That this had to be a dream. Finally, he could not hold back. He reached, wrapped his arms around her, and pulled her close. She instantly did the same. The two held each other. It felt like forever, when he finally pulled away just enough so he could look at her beautiful face. They just looked at each other, before moving in and their lips locked. The sensation that ran through Skyler, the moist and surge of pleasure. Tears began to roll down his face as he pulled away. "What took you so long?" asked Hillary as she opened her eyes. "You know me," said Skyler, looking back at her as he wiped the tears from his eyes. I like to make an entrance." "Yes, you do. I have to say, this is probably your second biggest one."
Adam, it seemed like you were having a little trouble reading there.
Holy sweet. By the gods above and below, my friend. It was a little difficult to read.
Just a little.
I'll be honest.
Yeah, that one was that was a horrible grammar. Horrible missing words. Yeah.
She cry from Jared Death.
Jared Death.
There was a lot of... By the way, the last paragraph, the amount of times that they just stared at each other.
Yeah.
And just stared at each other. And just stared at each other. By the way, you know that the two soldiers in the front seat are still very much alive, active, and, like, not dead?
Yeah.
And they're just like, you know what? We're going to let this kid... Let him cook. Let him cook. Okay? Hold up. Don't do anything just yet. Let him have this moment.
Oh, they're just knocked out from hitting the windshield.
No. That didn't happen. They were leaning against their seat belts. Which is really hilarious that they were able to get their faces up against the windshields while still being in their... Those are not good safety belts.
No, they are not. They're just good enough so they didn't go through.
But do you know how far away the windshield typically is?
I don't know what I was thinking. I think I was going with the idea that I wanted them to be up against the windshield, but at the same time not go through it. So the only idea was seatbelts. That's not how seatbelts work.
Not at all.
Those are actually a seatbelt failure.
Yes. That's gonna that dude. The driver is already into the front, into the steering column, then past it to get him.
Not just that, but he's up and over the steering column.
That dude has serious chest injuries going on right now.
He just leaped up to avoid it.
Oh god!
And clearly, there's no total failure on the airbags. Apparently,
yeah, no airbags went off.
Yeah, so.
Well, it's because Skyler didn't push in the bumper. He decelerated the car very quickly.
Also, I love the fact that from the vehicles, the two vehicles are so far away that they can still see that go flying off, but react any way that their people that were just with them is now dead.
Yeah, no, they haven't reacted to that.
No. Also,
keep going. Stay on mission.
See a dot in the road, far, far away, and Skyler can see them, but they can't see him yet.
Yeah. He's got better vision.
Also, I love the fact that there's
two vehicles that are moving.
Also, the fact that there's no mention of how he got the trackers on them.
Nope, not at all.
I think we do find that out in the next chapter. I do think I do cover myself on that one.
Oh.
But no mention. He just magically has this device.
He's like,
oh yeah,
I've been tracking them, and you're like, how?
Also, the fact the mile marker line, that was like, what? You got lost on that one.
Oh yeah, totally got lost on that one.
So did I. And then you reread it. I'm like, oh okay.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay, it's there.
I skipped an entire line.
Yeah. That wasn't my fault. That was your fault.
That was my fault.
Reading.
That was my fault.
There was plenty of other stuff wrong that was my fault from the writing standpoint. Cool. Again, this was a decade ago, so...
Yeah, no. And completely pantsed. It makes sense.
This is how my first drafts are. I leave so many words out because I'm thinking so fast.
Well, not just that. This is definitely a chapter that was... It's part of an overall story that you could have... Mm-hmm. Just made into one chapter.
Yep.
I mean, you could have chapter breaks. The Stephen King thing where he's like chapter 1, but then there's like a 1,
Yeah.
2, 3.
It's more of a scene break.
Yeah.
Um,
That's all you needed here.
yeah, and that's probably what I got into more of that style anyway. So, but yeah. I do kind of think this could have been its own chapter, but the next chapter should have been part of this chapter.
Right.
Or this chapter should be in the last chapter, and then the next chapter is its own chapter. Type thing.
I mean, also, you could have rewritten this so that instead of jumping to Skyler and him being like, yeah, I've got them tracked, just stay to Hillary the entire time, you know, all the way up through the door getting ripped off. And that's when you switch to Skyler.
Yeah.
Just stopping and being like, she's right there.
Yep.
It's been so long. She's right there.
Yep. But we now know, but we know he has her. They're not away yet.
Yes.
Before they get captured.
Yeah.
Or will they get captured? Was this be a distraction? And the
Will
guards...
he have to be like, no, Hillary, go ahead without me. I will sacrifice myself to save you. And she's like, seriously, they're not even catching up to us right now. You can come over here. And he's like, no. Closes the door, locks it, turns around, and then like waits 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Then gets tackled. He's like, oh, I thought they were way closer than this.
Yeah. Oh,
she's on the other side of the door being like, you can still unlock it. He's like, no, go ahead without me. What's taking these guys so long? They're waiting just around the corner. They're like, is he still there? I don't know.
Should I look?
No. We'll wait. All right, let's go.
Yeah.
We need full permission from headquarters.
Yep. But yeah,
Surfer dude's like, oh no, bro, give me some eyes on the situation, man.
Yeah. It's a good setup, but it just needs to be polished.
Just a little.
Not polished, rewritten.
Just a full rewrite.
To make it get all the mistakes out and rethink it through. I do like the idea of it all the way up to the door being ripped off, then cutting to Skyler's point of view of what happens.
You don't even need to cut to his point of view from the beginning. You could just cut to that point of view.
Yeah, I like the idea of seeing it from Skyler's point of view. But it faster. We don't need it doesn't need to be taken like all this like, oh, okay, wait, I'm gonna go here. Like, okay. We can speed that part up. We've seen that part. Yeah. This is gonna add to what part of his plan, or something like that. But yeah, I do like it going through there. But yeah, it's still a good chapter. But either it's the start of its own chapter with the next chapter combined, or it should be part of the chapter before it.
Yeah.
So which is good to have both options if you want to do it. Whereas most chapters like, no, it's a good start. It's the start of a chapter. It has to merge with the next chapter. We don't know what the next chapter is, but it needs to merge with that one.
Yeah, this isn't necessarily a start, but it is part of an overall a single arc.
Yeah. And depending on how I'd want to go in the future if I was to rewrite this. I had the option, which
exactly.
But it's what it is. What are any more thoughts you have on this thing? Again, I can't get the fact that the passenger's like, oh, there's a guy in the road. Run him over.
Just run him over. Even though somehow the car that was in front of us just got thrown off the road.
The thing is, they knew it was Chuck in that van, and he probably saw a fly and freaked out, and he was like, yeah, he deserved it.
The car lifted and barrel rolled sideways off the road.
That's Chuck for you.
That's Chuck for you.
That's Chuck. If it's possible, he'll figure out how to do it. It's not possible.
He'll still figure it out.
Chuck has proven things that are not possible into possible.
He made cold fusion once. Somebody went, that's cold fusion. And then it stopped working. Because it realized that it shouldn't exist.
Nope.
It became self-conscious and was like, no, I can't do this, and died.
Well, no, actually, the person touched it, and then that deactivated it somehow.
Yeah, because reality was... Chuck was like, and they're like, damn it, Chuck, you broke another thing.
Yep. But yeah. Anything else you want to add?
No, not
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, it was still a good chapter, but it can't be on its own. It needs another chapter after it.
Yes.
Or it needs to be merged with there for it to work. But we're gonna end this episode here.
Sounds good.
What did you think of this chapter? Do you agree it needs to be merged with a chapter before or after? Let us know down in the comment section. Tell us what you think of the story. Are you still confused as we are?
Oh, yeah,
We're
and-
still confused.
Because I also apologize for my terrible reading this week. I tried.
I do not apologize for my terrible writing over a decade ago.
Yeah.
My first draft writing over a decade ago, because it's over a decade ago. And yes, I'm guarantee you my first drafts are still that bad.
Oh, yeah, they
at
absolutely
times.
are.
Guarantee there are chapters in my stuff. But yes, that's why we rewrite, people. That's why we rewrite. But since you've made it this far in the podcast, I'm assuming you enjoyed it. So why don't go in, hit that like button as a prayer to the holy algorithm.
The holy algorithm.
And, subscribe because I got writing content on this channel. Speaking of that content, on the screen now, I'll have two links to different videos. One will be to the other episodes of the podcast and to another video that is best suited for you. Whatever you pick it, we'll see you there. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.